Alina Gonzalez, I want to wish you a great weekend and good night.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Welcome back to another episode of Biz Talks. My name is Rick Gutierrez. I am your host and your business advocate. Hey, this is the space where we get to talk to business professionals, business owners that have been in business for quite some time. So what I like to call subject matter experts that we have on the show to showcase their expertise, teach us some tips, tricks, insights all into business so that if you are out there and you're watching this, you can probably learn a little bit more about business and how to implement a little bit of this information into your business potentially, and also potentially get in touch with the guest on our show so that they can offer you their services and products. So this is a great opportunity for everyone to learn, and all I ask is that you are open to lifelong learning because that's the only way that we can move forward. With that being said, I am excited for our guest that we have here today. We have none other than the one and only Mr. Jim Bradfield, who has been in business for a very long time, and he is excited to be here and share his knowledge. So, Mr. Jim Bradfield, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. You know, we built this show just surrounded by individuals who have been in business, as I mentioned earlier, for a very long time. You have gained some knowledge throughout the process of being in business and or helping other business professionals implement some really cool strategies to help drive their business forward. So with that being said, you know, let's showcase a little bit about your knowledge so that our viewers, our folks can get familiar with Jim Bradfield, and you know that way you can get some audience and start heading your way and whatnot. So with that being said, I know that you have built a great infrastructure for your business in the realm of IT services in that industry. So let's share some particular challenging projects that you've led and how you were able to innovate your approach, and ensure that some of these processes were put into practice effectively.
Great. Well, one of the biggest things that I find that's really a necessity in this business, in almost any business, is that y'all work with outside groups outside of your team. You have core people within your team that know what they're doing, but you've got to work with other people that have other expertise. And one of the things that happens, we used to work a lot with NASA and Lockheed Martin in Sunnyvale. And those guys had some new things going on with space challenges. They were looking at a space simulator, and they were trying to figure out how to monitor it and that kind of thing. So they needed to also monitor the spacesuits for the spacewalkers that are going to be out for anything for any biologicals or anything else that would happen to them. So they called on us and said, "Hey, how do we monitor this? We don't have any kind of way to connect to it. We have antennas, but gosh, these antennas are giant, and they're just absolutely huge. They're the biggest things ever, and we can't fit that on the simulator equipment, and we also can't fit it on the spacesuit. What do you do? So we started brainstorming together with my team, and we pulled in some outside experts. And that's the real key, is to grab people from the outside that you can collaborate with. And the guys from the lab, they were reluctant at first to kind of work with outside teams, but I showed them what we could do. We grabbed a bunch of really prominent PhD kinds of guys, had them develop specialized antennas and specialized systems to be able to monitor these suits and to be able to, work with a small form factor antenna. So as we did that, we had lots and lots of failures, of course, but as we brought that thing in, it turned out that we were able to have a whole new form factor, a whole new development type of antenna. And what that did was that allowed them to integrate with the spacesuit as well as with the space shuttle itself. So when those guys got done with their activity, they told us that they had a little bit of a problem with the space shuttle itself. It was having a problem with the landing. It used to be that the landing, if the space shuttle would come in, it would land, you had to drop it once it got over the landing strip. And that was really painful on the guys who were, flying it, as well as it dropped off a lot of the tiles and broke a lot of landing gear. So they had us go out to work with their other NASA team out in the out at Edwards Air Force Base. And they said, all right, well, here are the problems. We need to monitor this thing. If you can imagine the space shuttle up 30 miles away and it's entering the area to start its landing procedure. And they said, well, what we need to do is monitor that thing, and we need to be able to control it. So what they said was, all right, develop that kind of a new antenna system and a new wireless base station for us. So we had lots and lots and lots of trials, but we finally brought together a bunch of RF engineers, a bunch of people that were really knowledgeable. And we said, okay, here we are, this is going to work. So actually, they were finally able to communicate about 10 miles away from the craft before it landed and monitor everything. And they actually fixed the landing gear. So, we were involved in that kind of a process. It's a small piece, but it's a really important piece to make things happen. Well, those guys were co-located in Sunnyvale with Lockheed Martin. And Lockheed Martin said, hey, we're working on this thing called pre-pass, which is something that allows truckers who have a transponder to be able to be weighed in motion. They call them weigh in motion stations and pre-pass. And what you could actually do is not only weigh it, but you could communicate with the transponder and tell the trucker when he had to go off, when he had to be off, he was done with his 10-hour shift, and also measure and things like that. Well, so they had a system that they had already put out there, and it was in about 35 places. But the problem was that they had telephone lines, and any time those telephone lines went down or they had any kind of problem, they had to send a NASA or a Lockheed Martin aerospace engineer out there to go fix that thing. And it turned out that they just weren't getting any kind of service from the phone companies, and it was very costly. You can imagine a couple $1,000 to send somebody to fix a phone line, right? So they asked us, because of our work with the NASA team itself, the Lockheed Martin guys said, well, why don't you come over and show us what you would recommend that you do for this network? Well, we worked with them. We worked with the RF engineers. We worked with Cisco. We worked with several different people. And we were able to design, do some proof of concepts, and then design some networking. Actually put together something that had never really been done before on a mesh type of a network. That means that all the different antennas work together for 4 different places. Well, the long and the short of it was that it worked so well, and we put it in all 50 states. Well, that's that was the result. It worked so well that they were able to eliminate all of that nonsense about sending people out for problems and services and things just to fix something that, now we had a backup system and we had everything ready to go. It allowed them to go to all 50 states to do just about anything they needed to do. So that was, I think that was probably one of the biggest things. And the whole takeaway for that is not that we're just so brilliant. We are, but it's not that just we're so smart or so good. It's that we're willing to work with other people outside of our team who know what's going on and actually have, the capability to work with us to design something, to work with the customer to design something. And, that becomes the entire operation. It actually turns out to be the be all and end all kind of thing. So that's how you result in an excellent project.
Absolutely. So I appreciate you elaborating on the details of, you guys are an expert, just in the realm of your business, because not everybody gets to work with Lockheed Martin or NASA. And so that just, brings great credibility to you. But we've got a couple of minutes left. Jim, what I like to do is that prior to getting on this show off screen, you were mentioning a little bit of background from your family that goes back generations in this industry. So, tell us a little bit about that background in just a couple of minutes so that our audience can get a little bit more familiar with the background that your family's had throughout this business.
Sure, absolutely. Well, in 1897, my great-great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather worked with Marconi over in England, and he was their right-hand man. And then he developed the radio systems that Marconi used, and eventually went on to the ships. It went on to the Titanic. A lot of good it did them, but they were at least able to tell people what happened to them. And from there, the family has worked on radio systems, radar systems, RF systems, just about any kind of thing. And I took it to do applications for any kind of thing that you can imagine. That would be, like feedlot cattle tagging for RFID, healthcare tagging for RFID, just about any application that you can ever imagine. We have been able to continue to develop, and that's what I've been looking at. We're including now everything that's going on with AI, but we're looking at the application to actually figure out how we can improve that over the wireless network. So there's a lot to that.
Absolutely, and I imagine that there is even a lot more history that goes there. So we've come to the end of this segment, Jim. I know that we're going to have you on additional shows, but we want to showcase also your contact information so that our viewers, our audience can get a hold of you. So just tell us real quick, how can we get a hold of you?
Well, you can call me directly, 925-382-0410, which is it's perfect, and you can get me by the LinkedIn that's showing up there on the screen there, Jim Bradfield. And you can also email me at jbjr@naswireless.com. That's naswireless.com. And believe it or not, I take everything personally, and I will go through your emails and anything that you guys have a question with, or anything that you want to review or have us talk about, hey, we're happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. We certainly do appreciate you coming by and being on the show and providing us with your expertise. We're going to go into a commercial break, folks. We are going to be right back. Stay right there.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
If you're on supplemental oxygen, heavy and awkward tanks can be a burden. Now you can leave home and leave the tanks behind with Inogen, portable oxygen therapy that moves with you.
With my Inogen, now I'm able to do the things that I've always loved. I just press the button here, and there's my oxygen.
Inogen systems are so small and light, you're free to leave the house without the hassles of an oxygen tank.
I could play golf again. I could go grocery shopping. I'm free again.
With the Inogen, I can handle my own oxygen. I can carry my own oxygen. I go anywhere with this. Look how small it is.
And right now, you can try an Inogen portable oxygen system for 30 days risk-free. Call us right now. If you qualify, we'll send you an Inogen system to use for 30 days risk-free. Your insurance may even cover your new Inogen system.
If you're on oxygen, you need to be using an Inogen.
Call 800-367-1753. That's 800-367-1753.
Hey folks, welcome back to Biz Talk. My name is Rick Gutierrez, your host and your business advocate. And when I tell you that we have a lineup of subject matter experts on the show, we always do. And the next segment brings up the tax expert, Mr. John Mitchell with Cantrell & Cantrell. It's great to have you on the show once again, John. Welcome aboard.
Yes, sir, Rick. It's great to be here, man. I woke up very excited this morning. I said, oh my God, I looked at my calendar. I'm going to get to talk to Rick today and bring some good content to everybody. So very excited.
Man, I'll take it any day because I don't think I hear that quite too often. As a matter of fact, it's usually the other way around. So I'll take it. I appreciate you being here. You know, every single time that we have you on the show, we learn a little bit more about not just John Mitchell, but Cantrell & Cantrell, and also some tax advice and or situations for business owners. And so this week is no different. We're going to learn something a little bit more, but there was a question that came in after doing last week's show, and folks want to know, you know, has there ever been in a case that you've handled where something, you know, seemingly minor, the tax issue that escalated to a significant challenge, and your expertise was, you know, you were able to handle it. So tell us a little bit about, you know, maybe something that with a particular case that was something minor but ended up being a big issue that maybe business owners need to be aware of.
Right. I mean, one of the things that comes to mind is, you know, a couple of years back, we handled a case in the office there at Cantrell, and it turns out that there was a lady who, her and her husband were running several corporations across the border. So they had corporations in Mexico and corporations in the United States, and they were all buying and selling and doing their thing. And so as a consequence, these Mexican corporations had offices all over Mexico, like a dozen different offices. And so one of the things that they would do is they would take funds from their clients, as regular course of business, right? They would take their funds, clients would deposit money, and then they would go out and pay expenses out of the money that the clients would give them. And came about that these folks got accused of not filing FBARs. Now, if you're not familiar with FBARs, that's foreign bank account reports. And if the IRS takes kind of a hard line stance on those and says that you willfully did not file, that it wasn't just a mistake, then you get a certain level of penalties. It can be up to 50% of the maximum value of that bank account, right? And so let's say you got $100,000 and your customer deposits it to your account, and you're supposed to pay expenses to get a deal done, and maybe your earnings out of that were $5,000 or $10,000, right? But the rest is all going to be expenses that are paid for you, for the client. And so it came about that they had all these offices, and they had this kind of elaborate system set up where they would get money deposited to each one of their dozen different offices, and then they would concentrate that into different accounts and move it around and pay different things out of different accounts. And so it came about that the IRS was charging them, best I remember, something like in the neighborhood of like $13 million in penalties for not filing their foreign bank account reports. Now, foreign bank account, if people out there recognize this or know this, that's not a tax that you have to pay. That's paperwork that you just fill out and send in to the government every year, right? So these whole penalties, multiple tens of millions of dollars of penalties, were all about paperwork that just didn't get filed, right? And that's all it was. It wasn't that these people were hiding money or skipping out on their tax liabilities or anything like that. It was just paperwork that didn't get filed. And so it turns out that when they IRS calculated these penalties, like I said, give the example. You got your customer deposits $100,000, and you're supposed to pay expenses for the deal that's going on out of that money. And so you transfer that money to another account and then split it up into two or three parts and so on and so forth. So you can see where the same money might be moving from account to account, but the IRS just looks and says, well, this account eventually had 100,000. This other account had 100,000. Oh, look at these other two accounts. They had 50,000. Oh my God, look at these other four accounts. They each had 25,000. And so they start calculating 50% of the value of all of those different account balances. And that was the same money moving from account to account. And it took us quite a Herculean effort to convince the IRS to tamp down those penalties, and they still got hit with 6 figures worth of penalties. But I mean, it wasn't 8 figures worth of penalties, and so we were able to show bank account statements and such, and we were able to demonstrate that look, it's fundamentally not fair to charge people penalties 50% of the value of each one of these account balances. It's the same money moving through all these different accounts, as the deal progresses and as things get paid. And so that's kind of one example of how a seemingly small thing, you didn't fill out your report and send it in on time, and now you owe millions of dollars. And thankfully we were able to do something about that and get it all settled up.
Yeah, absolutely. And folks, I can't stress it enough. That is the reason why we need to get in touch with John Mitchell over at Cantrell & Cantrell. And the reason why is because we need those experts, even though we're experts in our own field, but we need to bring those experts to help us with those other areas where we're not such experts. So every time that we're moving money or things like that, you have to take real consideration as to how that's going to affect your tax filings and all of those things. So it is an amazing opportunity to have someone like John Cantrell, who's been in business for a very long time, to showcase, help us showcase those expertise. And so, John, one of the other questions that came up for you for this particular week was, with the ever-evolving tax regulations and updates to tax laws and things like that, What upcoming changes do you foresee that may have an impact on small businesses that they need to be aware of? Something that is significantly profound that's going to impact the business. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I sure can. One of the things that I always, when I'm asked about this, which is more often than you might think, I get asked, hey, what about the changes in tax law? Well, I personally, and not everybody does this, but I personally do about 100 hours every year of continuing education courses just to stay up to date on all the tax law changes. The Internal Revenue Code and the regulations to implement that code, Title 26 of the United States Code, is altogether, the code and the regulations are right at about 17,000 pages. Now, I don't know all, the contents of all of those pages, and nobody does because we specialize in one area of tax usually, right? But you got to have some kind of little working knowledge of all of it. You got to have at least the bare bones concepts of everything. And so that's about it, about 17,000 pages. And on average, there are 2 changes to tax law. So 2 changes every 3 days. So every day and a half, something changes. And so I spend, as any competent, good professional will do, spend plenty of time getting up to date on all of that. And so that takes a pretty good effort. And you definitely, when you're choosing a tax professional, you definitely want to find somebody that has that has done their homework and is up to date on all the tax law changes. Now, one of the big things that has recently come about, and we really are hammering this, is the Corporate Transparency Act. Now, Corporate Transparency Act is not tax per se, but I call it tax adjacent. It's in Title 31, not Title 26, but that is much like the F-bar. Remember, I talked about F-bars a few minutes ago. Those F-bars are also Title 31 obligations. And so Corporate Transparency Act basically, and I've done 2-hour seminars on this, but I encapsulate it down to 30 seconds and say that Corporate Transparency Act, if you have a business entity, be it a corporation or LLC, for example, and you are doing even a small amount of business with it, as long as it's not completely dormant. If your corporation is a folder full of paperwork in a drawer, then you might be exempt from filing. But anything over like $1,000 worth of transactions during the year, and you're not an exempt entity. So all these entities are going to have to fill out what is called a beneficial ownership report, BOI, and and send that in to FinCEN. In my firm, I'm the go-to guy for that. They funnel in all these to me, so I've done probably 100 of them, and this just came about in January 1st. So that's going to be a big thing because the penalty for not having this up to date, the filings, is $500 per day, and that's just the civil penalty. And the civil penalty does not have a cap on it. So you do 10 days, $5,000. 100 days of being out of compliance might be $50,000. And plus, there's also a potential criminal penalties, a $10,000 fine over and above and different from the daily penalties, and then there's a jail time that can take place. So this law, this Corporate Transparency Act, has got some teeth to it, and definitely if folks out there have an entity, an LLC, or more than one LLC, corporation, whatever the case may be, you probably are going to want to check and see if you are liable for filing these corporate transparency beneficial ownership reports. That's a big one.
Yeah, so that's how I know that you stay up to date with all of the tax laws and how they change on every single day, because that Transparency Act is relatively new as of this year, I believe, or probably last year. But it's an amazing thing to have you on the show and showcase your expertise. John, it's always a pleasure. We love having you on the show, so thank you again for being on the show this week, and we look forward to seeing you in upcoming shows as well. So that's it, folks. We're going to take this commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay right there.
Taking a trip in the next 12 months? Airlines are under tremendous pressure and they're practically giving away their unsold seats. Like every crisis, this one will end too. But right now is the best time to take advantage of giveaway ticket prices on their unsold seats. We're not allowed to publish these low fares online. The only way to get these rock bottom giveaway prices is to call. So phone low-cost airlines now for airline ticket prices you may never see again. Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99, and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Welcome back to Biz Talks. My name is Rick Gutierrez, your host and your business advocate. And when I tell you that we've got yet another subject matter expert that's going to talk to us about nothing else but communication, and he happens to be the communication coach. And so with that being said, I want to bring up Mr. Todd Wall to the show. Welcome, Todd.
Hey, how you doing, Rick? It's so great to be here and with another fellow NowMedia host. I'm the host of Communication Breakthrough, and so it's just great for us to rub shoulders together and share a little bit of our information back and forth.
Absolutely. We appreciate you being here. We know that you have been in the communication world for quite some time. You are an expert in my book, and that's the reason why you're here. You want to showcase to our audience basically everything that has to do with hype communications and everything that you guys are doing behind the scenes and how you're helping business professionals and all that good stuff. So first and foremost, I want to give you an opportunity to tell us a little bit about your company, your products and services. What are you guys doing?
So I'm the personal development director for Height Digital. So we're a full-scale digital marketing agency helping home service businesses primarily, essentially get more customers in the door. Whether that's through Google ads, building their website, SEO, all of the digital things that essentially talk to Google and get Google to make that connection back and forth between your services and your ideal customer. And so my role within that is I'm raising leaders within the organization, and communication is critical not only within the team, but also the information going out specifically in the digital world so that it talks to that ideal target audience. And it's all about intentional communication. You can't just throw shotgun words out there and expect to get the results that you're looking for.
You said my key words. Intentional communication is key in order for anyone and everything to move forward. So with that being said, how critical is it for a business to have the proper streams of communication, especially online?
Absolutely, because there are millions and millions and millions of websites. How is it that a person does a search on Google? How does Google know how to connect you with that person? How does Google know that you're a safe company and not just a predator? Because ultimately that's what Google is looking for. It's ultimately trying to weed out the predators, and it's trying to figure out, Google really is trying to help the consumer. So how can you communicate clearly with Google on the backside? There's the part of the website that everybody sees. Then there's the backside that Google is reading, so that it communicates, that Google can know, oh, this person helps this person do this.
It's all about algorithms, right?
Yeah, and clarity, so that, because Google's not actually reading anybody's mind. It's connecting words with outcomes. It's connecting, it has to have something to connect. And that's the main thing. And so do you have the keywords that are necessary in there? And are you actively communicating on a regular basis so that so Google knows that you're an active business, you're not closed, so that you're actively solving problems and not, oh, I used to back in the past, because Google also doesn't want to recommend you to someone who's doing that search if you're not actively solving those problems.
Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things to where most people need to have those algorithms, in check, basically, because they are changing all the time. So it's crucial to stay up to date with all of that information. But Todd, let's talk a little bit about your experience. I feel like, credibility goes a long ways. And so you've been in this world of communication for over 30 years with working with many top-notch companies like ESPN and many sports teams and things like that. So showcase that a little bit so that our audience can get a little bit of your background so that they feel more comfortable in being able to get in touch with you because of that expertise.
Absolutely. There's so many angles and forms of communication, and there's so many different ways to come about it. And so I grew up in television. My dad was a camera operator, and he's in broadcasting before me in the years of black and white television. And so I grew up on the sidelines of some of the world's biggest games. And I learned from, and I got a degree in television and broadcasting. And so I grew up on the sidelines learning how to tell a story visually, so that very quickly, from the perspective of that camera, and that's the reason different cameras are in different places, to provide different perspectives. So from my perspective of the camera I'm operating, how can I tell the story as quickly as possible of who the hero is, the challenge that he's facing, the problem that he's trying to overcome, and show the emotion of why the crowd cares, why the audience really cares about the outcome, and to show the feeling and emotion of that moment. I also spent 10 years on stage as a pastor. So crafting those intentional words is absolutely critical, because whether it's brought your camera or on stage or a leader in a meeting, you never want to be in a situation where you're just talking at someone. Communication is a feedback loop. It always has to be a two-way communication. So it's never just one way, just a squawk box talking at someone.
You know, if I didn't know any better, not only are you a communication coach, but you're also somewhat of a director. In order to be able to tell those stories in that particular way and catch those angles, to be able to tell the story and have the audience feel, not only see, but feel that story, you have to have a very specific skill. How long have you been doing that?
Yeah, I grew up doing it, and I didn't even realize there is a framework. And I think that's really the power of communication and effective communication. It's not so much collecting all these great quotes and quoting back data to someone, but it's understanding the critical frameworks and segments that you really need to talk through on a consistent basis. Television learned this in 1960 with ABC Sports. And I don't know if you remember, but ABC's Wide World of Sports in 1960, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That was the big booming voice of that host. But ABC Sports, they had this contract for college football. And they started airing college football on a national basis, and nobody was watching. Because, sports didn't used to be big on television. But they figured out, as they were on scene at these games, people were gathering at behind their cars, and they were having these things called tailgates, and they're painting their faces, and they recognized they need to give the audience in Texas a reason to care about a game going on in Ohio, of all places. Why do they care about that? What's the emotion that they're connecting to? And so the framework built out of that, and it's been lasting for 50, 60 years now, and every television sports broadcast copies it. And it's they state the problem, what the literal problem is. We got the Yankees in town, and we're up against Murderers Row. But then they have the stakes, and if we win today, we're one step closer to the playoffs. Then they have this analysis stage, which you got these color commentators that over and over, it's if this, then this will occur. If the quarterback can do 1, 2, 3, then they can do X, Y, Z. And they have this analysis that isn't direct and finger pointing, but it's allowing and drawing the audience in to what's at stake. And if they do this, then this can occur. And then there's always a call to action, and you'll see it in television. Stay tuned right after this for more of X, Y, Z, or will the Mavericks be able to hold the lead? Stick with us right after this. And so these critical segments are necessary. And so if you can, in your communication, if you can identify the critical universal segments so that when you're in that segment, you just live there for a moment. You don't have to worry about, okay, I got to communicate all of these things. Just live in the problem for a minute. Live in the stakes for a minute and really express of the happily ever after or the hell island. What's the worst case scenario? Really add color to those words. Live in that. And then your brain compartmentally can just then move naturally to that next segment. Now, if this, then this. Now, if they do this, then this will occur. And you can expound upon that. If they can set the block, then a hole will open. Or on the opposite, if they can just plug that hole, And then there's always got to be a call to action. If your website and your doesn't call people, ask people for the business, you're not going to get any business.
Absolutely.
So you actually have to call people to action, request for them to do something.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So it almost seems like broadcasting companies came up with a solution for predictive outcomes, basically. If we finish with this, this will happen. And it also happens in books. When you are finishing a chapter, you are eager to start chapter 2 or chapter 3 because of how it ends, right? So Todd, it's been an amazing talk. It's been an amazing time talking to you today. But before we go, I want to give you a quick opportunity to showcase your company as to how we can get a hold of you. Our audience now wants to know more about Height, and how can we get in touch with you?
Absolutely. HeightDigital.com is the best place to find out about all of our services and how to contact us directly. I mean, if you need leads and you need a connection and a team that's going to go all in to fight for you and for your cause, Height Digital is the place to do that. You can find me personally at tvtoad.com, or not .com, but tvtoad on Instagram, and you'll see all sorts of sideline pictures and videos from all of that.
Amazing, Todd. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We definitely do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you in upcoming shows. Folks, this is the end of this segment. We're going to go into a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Are you nearly maxed out on your credit cards? It doesn't matter if you're using your credit cards for fun or to survive. At the end of the month, your statements come in, and you can either pay them or you can't. If you can't, late fees and interest rates get tacked on. And now you're struggling just to make the minimum payment due. Do you feel trapped? Am I talking to you? Good, because I personally researched some companies that can help you. They may be able to reduce your credit card balances by 50% and stop the late fees. If you qualify, please call our special debt hotline number right now for a complimentary free 5-minute consultation. Deal with your credit card problem now before it gets much worse and put more money back in your pocket. Trust me, I've been there too. Call right now.
Call 855-993-2096 right now. That's 855-993-2096.
Welcome back to Biz Talks, folks. My name is Rick Gutierrez, your business coach and your business advocate. We're excited to be here once again with an amazing guest that we have today. His name is Ryan Kahn with CS Business Consulting, and he's here all the way from Kentucky, so we're excited to have him on the studio. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you for having me back.
Well, it's always a pleasure to have people in the studio, especially for those that travel, just particularly to be here on the show and talk about amazing business topics. And boy, do we have one today. One of our topics today is in the world of AI, automation, and implementing that in workflows, and then the future of AI and where it's going, because I think it's here to stay. But you are the expert. You tell us, the future of work and AI. How is that developing?
It is developing rapidly. That's how it's developing. AI, like you said, is definitely here to stay. The traditional mindset of AI from 5 and 10 years ago about what it might be used for is rapidly expanding across industries we may not have thought that it was going to originally be in. Everybody thought technology and software, but now AI is getting into the minutia of even physical and manual labors and little efficiencies plugged in along the way.
Yeah. So there's an amazing uproar in the business world, especially small to medium business, where they're kind of either having or struggling in implementing AI or resisting in implementing AI. What would you say to those business owners?
I would just caution them to not fall behind, is what I would do. If you were going to resist using a typewriter 150 years ago, you would very quickly fall behind. If then you were to then resist using a computer 50 years ago, you would be way behind. And then, of course, smartphones, emails, internet, and now we're at the AI revolution. And it's not at the precipice, we are here, right? It is happening, and you need to make sure that you don't get left behind. Now, there are cautions to be had, but you do not want to just completely sweep it under the rug and ignore it.
So what would be one of the first things that you would do to implement AI, let's say in a manufacturing vertical market where they have tons of inventory, which I imagine AI can only do wonders for a manufacturing plant?
Yep, it definitely can. One of our clients in particular that I can think of has implemented it with their inventory, and what it does is it is being used in a small portion up front, and that's what I would recommend to anybody. Start small. Find one small area, maybe some very small efficiencies that you can implement with AI, and then grow from there. And what they did is they have, of course, a scan-in, scan-out system that was already based in technology. But what happens, instead of having to run manual reporting weekly or monthly, the AI, after just a few weeks and then a few months, predictively orders that inventory and predictively sends the reports out. So that takes the human out of it. And you just have to sit back and have accountability by checking and reviewing, but the AI takes care of that for you, and now it orders the inventory and spends their money automatically.
I can only imagine how many people, because I've experienced this, I imagine you have as well, where you order something and next thing you know, it's out of stock or it's back ordered. And it's going to be many days, many weeks, many months in getting what you ordered, right? So AI being so crucial to business nowadays in placing an order to resupply the manufacturing plant for those items, there would never be back orders, right? But I think one of the things that you mentioned a little while ago in terms of taking small steps, taking baby steps in implementing AI is crucial. It's better to do it than not do it at all, because that's just, I hate to sound like Howard Hughes here, but it's the way of the future if it's not already here, right? So tell us a little bit more about how AI, the automation aspect of AI, and how you implement it in some of these businesses.
Great. I'll actually use myself as a real-world example. So we began using AI last year officially. We did our research. My big background in law enforcement and security was very hesitant about what we would expose the AI to, but we just took a small bite. We use predictive time entry is what we do. So my people are, time in billing is very common in the accounting world. We use it as an arm's reach distance to make sure that we're being efficient. And we took that and we said, hey, if we can plug this into our software, it can predict what my people are working on. So as they're going through and getting their daily tasks, their daily projects checked off, it is tracking their behavior and saying, hey, is this what you just got done working on and for how long? And then you click, instead of 5, 6 buttons, you just click yes, or make one tweak instead of 6. And what happens is that seems very small, but if I can save 30 seconds in entry times 20 entries a day or 10 minutes a day times all of the days of the year, I can now free up what would be the equivalent of an entire staff member's work time just by making a predictive time entry change. Now imagine what I could do with OCR technology, AI auto-posting things into financials, into bank reconciliations, and then tax returns, where a human automatically is fed information that they can review and be accountable to.
So 30 seconds, they all add up, right? And
They
it
do.
can add up to not only one particular employee, but several. But with that being said, will AI and automation eventually take over? Or do you think the human element still needs to be there?
I have a hard time seeing AI truly taking over. I believe there's just so much human nature that is required on so many things. And again, I am a huge proponent of the trust but verify. And so AI, given its parameters and its boundaries, still needs to be verified. AI is incredible, but not perfect. And so it still produces some questionable answers. Sometimes it gets creative and thinks outside the box, and it needs to be brought back inside the box. And I think we might see some more industries taken over first. Like I'll just tell you, the arts industry, the entertainment industry is being challenged really hard. Now anyone can type into an AI engine and create literal stunning art that cannot be separated from somebody that's worked their entire lifetime to build a skill.
Interesting, because with a background in marketing for over 36 years, I can honestly tell you that graphic designers right now are having a really hard time because almost AI is implemented into almost every online graphic design tool that there is out there. And so the need for graphic designers is not as great because a lot of user-friendly devices and softwares that are being implemented with AI, it makes it easy for just a consumer like you and I to go and create our own graphics. But with that being said, the human element, I believe, is still something that's going to be needed moving forward, regardless of how much AI we have. There's something about the human element that we still need to have, right? So when it comes to automation and into the businesses, particularly the small businesses, as I mentioned earlier, the ones that are resisting putting AI into their business, we've got to get them on board. So what would be the best approach to get our viewers that are business owners that are thinking or have been thinking about doing it but not been thinking it? What would you advise them to get started or how to get started?
My advice would be, I'm a very transparent person. I would just dangle the carrot in front of yourself. If you can use AI automation to do auto invoicing and collect your money for you, would that not be a huge carrot to dangle in front of somebody? Would you not be willing to try AI if it could make your billing and your AR, your receipts, more efficient and more accurate? You don't have to do as many write-offs, no discounting. The AI goes out there and does all the work for you and collects your money for you. That would be the big carrot I would dangle in front of my own face first.
That's a carrot that I would buy on because there's nothing like having receivables come in when they're supposed to come in, and then also having the inventory, as we mentioned earlier, for it to be there in order to be able to bill the clients for whatever it is that they order. So AI is a topic that can go on forever. It's not just a short conversation, but it's a great way to get started and get information to our viewers in order to get them moving forward. Because, as we mentioned earlier, it is the way of the future, and it's here to stay. Because if other places like law enforcement or military is using AI, then you know that it's gonna be here to stay. So, Ryan, how can we get in touch with you to learn more about AI and implementing these systems, automation in AI into our business?
Absolutely. If you want to have that workflow discussion and how AI may be a part of that, you can reach out at the website csbizcon.com. That's CSBIZCON.com. And then you can even shoot me an email, Ryan at csbizcon.com, or you can call us at 270-442-6688.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Folks, that is all for today. We appreciate Ryan being here and providing us with such valuable information. We look forward to seeing you next week here on Biz Talk. My name is Rick Gutierrez. We'll see you next week. Until next time, take care.
This has been a NowMedia Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99 and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today.